Saxons, this is Ms. Masters with the last video I'm going to make for you on the process of writing a research paper, at least for now. I'm going to show you how to format your paper and properly cite your sources. First, we're going to get our reference website ready to go. What I mean by that is we're going to access the site that's going to help us put together our paper and its citations before we do anything else. I'll tell you now that you're never going to memorize all the stuff in this video. So knowing where to find the information is really more important than knowing the information itself. We're going to start on the library's homepage, which you can go to directly or access through North's website. If you haven't already bookmarked it, I would do that. There's a lot of resources on the library's website. You can use the little star to the right of the address bar to bookmark it. Now, click on Online Research. To the right is one of the resources that we need. Click on MLA, Modern Language Association. This is a style guide used in English and some social studies classes. It's going to open up the OWL Writing Lab at Purdue University. You can read through your options on this page on your own time, but for right now, click on Formatting and Style Guide. The general guidelines and the section on formatting the first page of your paper are exactly what we are going to want first. Now that we've done that, we can set up our paper in Google Docs. When I go to the Docs homepage, I see that there is a template for a report written in MLA format. That seems like an awesome, easy thing to use, but several elements of it are wrong. I'm not saying this because I want you to do more work. I'm saying this because I checked it and it's wrong. I find it easier to just do my own paper correctly by myself than to go through and try to fix all of Google's errors in their template. So I'm going to open a blank document. If you want to go the template route and fix stuff instead of creating stuff, go for it. In our general guidelines for formatting an MLA paper, I see that we are expected to double space it and use a legible font. They suggest Times New Roman. Arial would also be okay. Don't use anything else. The font size should be 12 point and the margins should be 1 inch all the way around. Let's do that stuff. First of all, double space it. There are two ways to do this. You might have a button up in your menu bar. It'll be 3 lines next to a double-headed arrow, and it will say line spacing when you hover over it. Click on it and select double for spacing. You can also go to your format menu, click it, choose line spacing, and double. They both get you the same thing. A legible font is the next step. MLA suggests Times New Roman, so that's what I'm going to use. You should have your font appear in your toolbar. Right now it's Arial, and I'm going to change it to Times New Roman. I use Times New Roman a lot, so it's up here in my recently used fonts. If you don't see it there, you'll need to scroll down the regular list. It's in alphabetical order until you get to Times New Roman toward the bottom. The font size is supposed to be 12 point. Google has used a default of 11. I'm going to hit the increase font size button, looks like a plus sign, and get myself to 12. If these things are already correct for you, then don't worry about changing them. But do make sure that you go through and actually confirm that they're right. Don't just blow them off. Last thing, margins should be 1 inch all the way around. For that, I'm going to go to the File menu, select Page Setup. My margins are on the right-hand side, top, bottom, left, and right. They should all say 1, 1, 1, 1. That's 1 inch all the way around. Mine already say that, so I'm going to leave them the way that they are. If yours don't say that, then change them so that they look like mine. When you're done, you can click OK. Next in our directions, create a header that numbers all pages consecutively in the upper right-hand corner, 1/2 inch from the top and flush with the right margin. There's also a note here which says your instructor may ask that you omit or leave out the number on your first page. always follow your instructor's guidelines. That's always true. If your teacher says the paper should be written in Comic Sans, then you write it in Comic Sans. They say 8-point font, then you use 8-point font. Part of writing a successful academic paper is following directions. So anything special that your teacher tells you to do it. They're the one giving you the grade. Fall back on the basics when no other instructions are given. Now, let's make that header. In the space on our page above the blinking cursor, we are going to double click. And this will get us into our header modifying space. We're supposed to use our last name and the page number up against the right-hand margin. I'm noticing a problem though. Even though I changed the font and the font size in my actual paper, it looks like Google Docs is using the default font and default size again for the header, and I don't want that. It all needs to match. So I'm going to change Arial to Times New Roman again. I'm going to change 11-point font to 12-point font. It also says that the header is supposed to be against the right margin. Currently, it's against the left. You might have alignment buttons in your toolbar. Left align is what we have going on right now. There's center, there's justified, and there's right, which is what we want. Now, last name and page number. I could type the page number manually, but then I would have trouble with each consecutive page. It obviously would not be correct, and I would need to change that over and over again. Instead, I'm going to go to the blue options drop-down menu and select page numbers. I want them in the header, I want them to show on the first page, and I want to start at page 1. Apply. Now Google Docs will put the correct page number in for me. So on page 2, the header will read Masters 2. On page 3, it will read Masters 3. If my teacher has said that they don't want the header on the first page, I'm going to click the box for different first page, and it's going to give me the option of putting something special or putting nothing at all on this page. It'll do the right thing, the thing we asked for, on all the consecutive pages. All right, what's next? In the upper left-hand corner of the first page, list your name, your instructor's name, the course, and the date. Again, be sure to double space text. We don't need to worry about double spacing because we've already set it up. The paper will do it for us automatically. Don't hit enter more than once at all on your paper, because then it will quadruple space instead of double spacing, and it'll look like you were trying to cheat your way to more pages. So to get back into our paper, we're going to double click below the gray box where it says header. There we are, back in our paper. And we need our name, our instructor's name. You're going to use whatever name you would use in the classroom. So if your teacher has asked you to call them Professor Quimby, then you're going to write Professor Quimby. If it's Dr. Smith, you'll write Dr. Smith. If it's Ms. Johnson, then you'll write Ms. Johnson. So that's our name, our instructor's name, the course. So that's the name of the class that you're taking. In college, that would be good enough. In high school, it's not super helpful in identifying you because most teachers teach several periods of the same subject. So Ms. Johnson may have, for example, 100 English 4 students. So this is not super great. We are also going to indicate for her our period number so that she can actually find us out of the stack of 100 papers. And then last but not least, what do we need? The date. When it says the date, it's actually referring to the due date. So whenever you're supposed to turn in your paper. I don't actually know when that is for you. And of course it will change depending on when you're watching this video. So I am going to use, I don't know, February 26th. 2021. Okay, we got that. Double space again and center the title. Do not underline, italicize, or place your title in quotation marks. Write the title in title case, which is standard capitalization, not in all capital letters. Okay, so I'm going to hit that enter button once to get to the next line, and I need to center my title. Again, the alignment buttons should be in your toolbar, and one of them will say center align. I'm not writing a real paper, so I can put whatever title I want to up here. You are writing a real paper, and you want to keep in mind that your title is part of your paper. It is the first part of your paper that somebody reads, so it needs to be interesting, and it needs to indicate what's going to happen over the course of the paper. So it shouldn't just say paper about drugs, paper about gangs, paper about love and relationships. Those are not titles, those are labels, right? So, good title, strong title. What is next? Double space between the title and the first line of the text. So I'm going to hit that enter button once. Here's a tricky thing. A lot of people will forget to uncenter the text, and they'll write their whole paper centered in the middle of the page, and then their teacher will laugh at them. So please don't forget to go back up to your toolbar and to left align again. We already know that we need to indent the first line of our first paragraph. To do that, you're going to hit the tab button on your keyboard. Again, you're going to hit the tab button. You are not going to hit your space bar multiple times. All right, we can use this sample page, sample of the first page of a paper in MLA style, to check and make sure that our first page is good, but it's the world's tiniest picture and clicking on it doesn't do anything. Fortunately, on the left, there is a link to a readable sample MLA picture or sample MLA paper. There you are. If it happens to still look tiny, then click the hamburger menu on the left and the paper will take up more of the page. Now we can check the header, heading, title, and first line. I'm noticing that the date in this paper is not written the way I wrote it. It looks like MLA format does the date like the rest of the world does, day, month, and year with no commas. The US is basically the only country in the world that does the month first, but MLA is an international format. So I guess it makes sense for us to do what everyone else is doing instead of asking everyone else to do what the crazy Americans do. So instead of February 26, 2021, I want 26 February, no comma, 2021. That's why we look at the sample. The blue and green boxes on the sample page give helpful hints for writing and formatting your paper. Blue is formatting and green is writing. Speaking of writing, this is when you start writing your paper. You need an introduction first, right? If you're dividing your paper into sections, you might scroll through this sample to see how that's done. As you write, you will quote some of the sources you consulted during your research. So let's go and deal with our citations. We're going to leave this page here and go back to the tab with the library's website open on it. Under Helpful Stuff, there is a citation generator. It's a link to BibMe, which will create the citations for the end of your paper for you. It's totally fine to use, and it is easy, but I prefer Scribber. So that's where I'm going to take you right now. And maybe I should change that link to BibMe to reflect the thing I'm actually recommending that you use. Because I use it so often, all I have to do is start typing Scribber and it fills in the address for me. For those of you who are not using Scribber all the time, you are going to scribbr.com. From the home page, hover over the Citation Tools drop-down menu and select Mla Citation Generator. You will first need to choose a source type. So what was your source? Was it a website? Was it a book? Was it an article? I'm going to click on Journal Article, as hopefully you all have one of those. A journal is a peer-reviewed collection of articles and papers on a specific topic. It's academic in nature. The New England Journal of Medicine is a famous one. Good news. If we have the title of the article or its document number called a DOI, Scribbr will do a lot of this work for us. When I'm looking at an academic journal article in a list of database search results, I can generally see the document number. It's labeled DOI. If I'm in the article already, as in I clicked the search result and I'm actually reading the information, then it may be at the top of the article near the title or author. In this case, I see it's up here as part of the article's URL. That's a hot link, but if I right-click on it, I can copy the link address, then paste it wherever I want. I'll just need to remove everything that isn't the DOI after I paste it. I can also click on Detailed Record here on the left, and the DOI will be listed under DOI on this page. So regardless of where you get it, copy the DOI and paste it into Scribbr. It will give you, once you hit the search button, the blue search button, it will give you what it thinks you're talking about. If you can confirm that that's the right article by checking the title, the date, the author against your actual article, then you can go ahead and click on it, and Scribbr will automatically populate the fields below for you. Now you'll need to go through and check against the article to make sure that the populated fields are correct. In other words, is the person they said was the author actually the author? Is the title that they gave actually the title? If something is wrong, fix it. If something is blank, add it. In this case, I see that the name of the library database is wrong. I know this for two reasons. Number one, I performed the search for this article, and I did not search in a database called Crossref. Also, I'm the librarian, and I know that we don't have a database called Crossref, so none of that makes sense. If I go back to the detailed record, the database is going to be some of the information on the page. It's Academic Search Premier. So that's what needs to be where it says database, not Crossref. And that's why we need to check. The computer works on an algorithm. It guesses what it thinks is right, and then you need to make sure that it actually is. Once you've double-checked everything, and you should do a more thorough job than I just did, you're going to click Cite Source, and we'll be taken to our new Works Cited list. You can enter the info for your next source from this page. Just click on what it was, a website, a book, a journal article, etc. And it will add it to the list in alphabetical order, just like it's supposed to be. So, back to citing those in-text quotations. Head over to the Purdue OWL site and click MLA In-Text Citations, The Basics. Where is it? There it is. Here are our directions. The first two sections, Basic Rules and Author Page Style, are important to read. The rest of the sections go into detail about how to format in-text citations for sources that don't fit the regular pattern or might otherwise be confusing. Good news. Scribble will show us in-text citations. Then all you need to do is copy and paste them or write them yourself into your paper and make sure that you follow the directions. So go to Scribr, hover over the upper right-hand corner of the source that you want to cite in text, and click In-Text Citation. A window will pop up, which will give you a couple of options, including a link to learn more about in-text citations if you realize you have no idea what you're doing. Remember that the basic is author and page number. If you mentioned the author's name in your sentence, you don't need to put it in the citation. So you can just do the page number on which you found the quote in parentheses. That's this bottom one here. Because it's mentioned in the sentence, I don't need to put the last name inside the parentheses. If you didn't mention the author's name in the sentence, you'll need their last name and the page number in the parentheses. That's this top one. You'll notice there's no P or PP or PG or comma inside those parentheses. There's just the last name and the page number. You can copy the citations from this page. Click to copy. But it's kind of silly because the program doesn't actually know what page the quote you used came from. So you'll need to delete the wrong page number and put the real one in there anyway. I generally just look at the examples and then go back to my paper and write them in. But as I said, you can go ahead and copy it if you'd like. Speaking of looking at the examples, before we leave this, note that the citation goes after the last word of the sentence, but before the sentence's period. So if I quote a source in my paper, then I also need to cite it. I copied that citation, so I'm just going to Control V to paste. That's not actually the page number of the quote. So I'm going to put the correct page number, which was 98. And then I'm going to make sure that there's a period after the parentheses. Okay, so let's say that we have written our paper. Let's see what Purdue OWL has to say about the list of works cited that's supposed to come at the end of the paper. So Purdue OWL, and then over on the left-hand menu, we're going to click on MLA Works Cited Page Basic Format. Begin your Works Cited page on a separate page at the end of your research paper. It should have the same 1-inch margins and last name page number header as the rest of your paper. Label the page Works Cited. Do not italicize it or put it in quotation marks, and center it at the top of the page. Only the title should be centered. The citation entries themselves should be aligned with the left margin. Make sure it's double-spaced, and indent the second and subsequent lines of citations by 0.5 inches to create a hanging indent. Now, let's start by getting ourselves to a new page. We're going to hit enter kind of slowly until we get to a blank page. There it is. Look at that. It said that the title should be Works Cited and it should be centered. So we're going to go up to those alignment buttons in our toolbar again. We're going to type Works Cited. We're going to hit enter once. And we're going to left align again so that our citations match up. I'm going to my Works Cited list on Scribr. From the 3-dot menu in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to select Copy to Clipboard. And then back in my doc, I'm going to hit Control V to paste. Now, Google changes some of the formatting when it pastes your citations onto your Works Cited page. We have to go back and fix this because right now it's wrong. If you find a way to paste from Scribr onto your Works Cited page without it changing the formatting, please let me know. Pretty much every citation generator that I have found just doesn't work correctly when you paste it into Google Docs. So you have to go back and fix it. Once you've got the whole list in there, so everything that you need, you're going to do a couple of things. One is that you need the citations to begin on the left-hand margin, which they are not right now. If you look at where my cursor is right now, that's our left-hand margin. Up at the top, you'll see the little triangle and the little line are together. If I click on one of these entries, you'll see that my cursor is blinking in further. And up at the top here, you'll see that the triangle and the little line are not next to each other, and they are not over at the left. So we got to fix that. I'm just going to go to the beginning of each citation, and I'm going to hit my backspace button until it's all lined up again. Unfortunately, this gets rid of our hanging indents. So we're going to highlight all of our entries, all of our citations, not the title, just the entries. We're going to go to Format, Align and Indent, and Indentation Options. Under Special Indent, we're going to get our hanging indent back. We're going to hit Apply, and you'll see that after the first line, the next lines, the subsequent lines, are indented in each citation. The other thing that Google has done to us is it has put larger spaces between entries than within entries. So if you look at the space between London and www.telegraph.co, it is smaller than the space between www.telegraph.co and National Women's Party. We need everything to be the same double space. We're going to highlight the whole page, including the title, Works Cited. We're going to go up to the Format menu, Line Spacing, Custom Spacing. It should say Line Spacing 2, Paragraph Spacing 0, 0. But it's not actually doing that. We need to hit the Apply button and it will fix itself. Now, you could avoid all of this fixing like we did at the beginning by creating the Works Cited list yourself. But in this case, I think it's faster to copy and paste the entire Works Cited list from Scribr into my document and then quickly go back and fix those few things than it is to go back and forth between Scribr and my doc, typing all that information in. All right, cats and kittens, my dog just brought me a toy and is insisting that I play with her, so I'm wrapping this up. If you have questions about writing or formatting your research paper, please don't hesitate to email me at masters.caitlin@tusd.org. Have a great week.